Thanks for coming this evening. If you'd please stand for the pledge and prayer, we'll get started with our agenda.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Oh God, we thank you for the privilege and opportunity we have to assemble here this evening in freedom. Thank you for the sacrifice of so many that make this possible. We ask that you would lead, guide, and direct the proceedings. Let the decisions be pleasing in your sight and beneficial to the people of our area. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. We will note for the record that we do have a quorum, so we are good to meet, and I'm going to go a little bit out of order here. We need to elect, I guess, officers for 2025 before we take any other action.
Move to nominate and re-elect all existing officers.
Second.
Okay, that's a proper motion and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, that motion carries. And then we have a set of minutes from our meeting, the last meeting we had, which was December 3rd. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to
I'll make a motion to approve the December 2024 minutes.
Second with the following recommended change. Second paragraph from the bottom. There was a recommendation made by the council. It's actually a recommendation made by the commission.
Okay. Are you good with that?
Yes.
Edit? Okay. There's proper motion to approve this with that one edit. And the second, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries, and those minutes with that one modification are approved. I believe Mr. Grant Webb has expressed an interest to serve on the commission. Is he here this evening?
He is.
I'm sorry, please. If you want to just come up here and tell us your name and anything you'd like for us to know, we'd appreciate it. And thank you for being willing to put yourself out there and enjoy it.
Absolutely. Grant Webb, I live at 188 Hayden Drive. Just Keith had reached out, just been involved with insurance and bonding, and I've worked with some developers, and when I lived in Conway, I watched a lot of the planning and zoning commission meetings, and it really does interest me in the future growth of cities and how businesses coming in and subdivisions and other things coming in really help grow communities. It's interesting to me, and hope to join you guys.
Thank you for being willing. Commissioners, y'all have any questions?
I move to appoint Grant Webb to the open position on planning and zoning. I second that.
There's a motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? And this has to go to the council, but they'll be good with it, I'm sure. So thank you again for being willing to serve. And I'm sure James can hook you up with a digital or hard copy of whatever you'll need, the regs and so forth. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
What was it? That was Ward 3, wasn't it?
You're in Ward 3, correct? Do you know? I think that's right.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
That's
right.
Fill the role
James.
of Ward 3. Yeah.
Very good. All right, Mr. Kendall Barton's here this evening, and I think wanted to address us. Maybe it was on bonding or some of the new things we've been doing lately.
Yeah.
Feel free, sir. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Stay over there.
We're getting fancy now. We got mics everywhere.
All right, so it was brought to my attention, you guys brought in the performance bond and
Subdivision maintenance bond.
maintenance bond.
Yes.
And the maintenance bond, I think is a great idea. I think it'll help protect the city and help make better roads, better streets, better developments. The performance bond, I have a hard time with trying to understand how we can do that if it's not a contractual agreement between the developer or the city. Usually a performance bond is between the person paying for the product and the person doing the product, doing the job. So I think there might be a little misunderstanding there. I know you guys would definitely want a performance bond if you were hiring a contractor to do some work for the city or anything that the city has going that they're paying for, then you would definitely want to get a performance bond to make sure they complete the project and do it. But legally, from everything I read and understand, you can't get a performance bond from a developer or a contractor if you're not paying for it because there's no contractual agreement. Is that pretty
You
close?
want me to speak on?
I do. Yeah, you're a bonding expert. We're not.
So, in retrospect, there may not be a contractual obligation, but when they take over the infrastructure that you're putting in, it is in their benefit for you to complete that project. Because if you were to, quit halfway through, well, then there's infrastructure that they would likely have to come in and finish. Because they do have a benefit for that to be completed.
They have a benefit for it, but they have no contractual agreement or obligation of any kind of funds.
Bonds don't always have to be a contractual agreement, they can be statutes or ordinances. Every other city that requires these, Fayetteville, Jonesboro, some in Little Rock, it's always based on an ordinance.
So,
That's like your contractor's license bond is not a contractual obligation, it's a statute or an ordinance put in place by the contractor's license.
It's my understanding, and James, you correct me if I'm wrong, but when we heard suggestions on this, we sent this to the city attorney to advise us on what language should be approved or whatever, and that's been done, has it not?
Yes.
So the only way that could be undone is if the city council decided that they didn't want to have this, I suppose.
So how difficult
I think
it
so.
is to get a performance bond grant?
for two parties that aren't contractually bound.
For you, Kendall?
For me, if I have to give it to the city, and they're not paying me for it,
Do what?
and they're not paying me for the job, or
Yeah, I mean, all the other contractors that we do bonds for, it's in their understanding that they're gonna have to put that up. So, I mean, we write the bonds, so.
well, I know y'all write my bond, and I know you'd write my bond for this. It's not I'm not here for a worried about getting a bond or being able to get a bond. I know we're in good standing, but I just don't see, and everything I read is if you had to have a contractual agreement between two parties, it would be the same as me buying insurance on your home, you know?
Like I said, there doesn't have to be a contractual agreement. It can be put in place by city, county, just an ordinance requiring that. That's all it has to be.
So you're bound by the ordinance for the city to enforce with the contract is essentially what you're saying, it's not a person or entity you're contracting.
I do get where you're coming from, is if you were gonna do a drainage project that the city put out to bid, there is a contract. But in this case, there's an ordinance that requires you to have that security in place to protect the cities.
Okay.
We were told that many cities throughout the state already had this in place. Now, I didn't personally go and investigate all those towns to ensure that was true. That is what we were told, and the city attorney, as I understand it, recommended the specifics of the language that the council passed. Certainly, if you want to talk to the mayor or the city attorney, if there's something for us to learn that we don't know, I'm certainly open to it.
Yeah. Mr. Barton, I recommend just providing us a written argument or a written statement, where your points on that. And we can turn it over to the city attorney and the city council, or you can take it directly to them, but that way they've got something they can evaluate. Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kendall?
Thanks so much. Next on our agenda is a preliminary plat for Hidden Valley Phase 6, I believe.
I'm gonna come over here so I can set my stuff in.
That's fine. Make yourself comfortable.
Good evening. My name is Bear Davidson. Here on behalf of Mr. Kendall Barton. As you said, this is for Hidden Valley Estates Phase 6. These are the preliminary plat as well as the construction drawings that have been submitted for review. We've had some back and forth with Mr. Squires and Mr. Breckenridge. I probably need to thank Kyle for his patience with me as we asked a number of questions and had some back and forth on the sewer. I think at this point, we're on the same page with the capacity of the system and the pump station. So if that's not correct, please let me know. But I think we're on the same page at this point with the number of lots.
Yeah, today they addressed any other questions I had today in a letter, and I don't know if you guys have a copy of that, but a good firm count on phases 1 through 5. And I reran the numbers based on that count, and the pump station, they gave us some middle on, so we know the people at that pump station. And just talked with Tommy, make sure he was good with the peaking factor. He was, I think we're on the same page, so.
No concern, you don't have any concerns?
It's basically at capacity, so there'll be no additional, but it will suffice, yes, sir. And it also addressed the other drainage question. That was just, I reading the contours, you couldn't tell, there is an existing overflow, I understand, that's on the west pond. And they have already filled in the overflow that shows on, if you look at the contours on the site plan, they've already filled that in. Nothing flows north to them through, all the west. They'll have to deal with it in a future phase, but it won't affect this construction.
Anything else you need us to know at this point?
Just in summary, there's 140 lots total. One of those is the pump station lot, so really 139 lots that would have houses on them.
In phase 7.
This is phase 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
139 lots in phase 6.
Yes, sir, and that's, and we understand that, and that was the goal, was to maximize the capacity of that pump station at this point. We want to be able to build, we want to build out the rest of these lots to help cover the cost of that station, so.
I'm sure it was a big investment.
So I'll try to answer any other questions if you have them, but that's a brief summary of what's before you.
Questions?
I looked at it, looks good. I mean,
I move to, go ahead, Mike.
well, the only questions I had were answered by Mr. Barton about the outflow of the water. Now that we've got to move it west out of the, out of there, that takes care of that minor issue is all it was.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, I'm good.
I move to approve the Hidden Valley Phase 6 preliminary plan.
Second.
Motion and multiple seconds to approve the request as submitted. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you all.
And that's approved. Thanks for your
Thank you,
time.
Mayor.
And thanks for what you're doing out there. All right, next on our agenda, Mr. Tony Walker's here to discuss the project at 399 West Center Street. Come on, sir, and tell us what you got in mind.
So I have the property on 0 Center Street, and I'm looking to do like a gaming food park area, you know, get a community some good entertainment, and also, you know, like I say, the food park, you know, and also I had an idea for like the container, you know, ship container buildings made out of galvanized steel. It's like a pop-up container buildings where you can help them basically give people opportunity to start a business there on the property too, like to sell clothes or shoes, or they can sell food, or, you know, kind of like a flea market setup. And I also have the site plan to show proof that, you know, I got the plans done, and I also got the survey done too, you know, to show proof of that.
You said a survey, are you talking about the site survey?
Yes.
Okay.
Does the survey show the railroad and the Arkansas Highway right-of-way distances on there? Because the railroad's not gonna let you get on them nor the state highway, just as a point of reference.
Right.
And I assume we'll have to look at some kind of drainage plan on this.
Yeah. I can always update it, you know, more things on it if I need to.
I don't see those.
Mr. Walker, have you had an engineer look at it, or architect look at it for the drainage issues that we encounter on that property yet?
No. Oh, well, I have the utilities come out there, you know, and they told me what all the utilities located.
Not the
before I can
utilities,
interject.
the water, the runoff that crosses that land there has always been an issue. And-
Right. Yeah, I haven't had anyone to talk to me about that yet.
Okay.
I've got an email here from the mayor dated March 29, 22. First, this was during the first time that Mr. Walker came to us, talking to us about this. And the mayor had a list of items here that he'd like to see before there was any action taken on this. And an engineered drainage plan was one of those items that we really need to see because of the drainage that goes through that area. So far, all I've received is this survey from Mr. Walker. I've not received anything on the drainage.
We can't act on it until it passes our drainage ordinance anyhow.
Yeah, I've got personal experience with that land out there. That major culvert that comes underneath right at the bus station, and then when you come a little bit farther north, there's a minor culvert that passes the Quonset hut. And those two are big adders to there. And we know the downstream blockage that happens when the water tries to go underneath the railroad trestle there. I don't know, it's behind the bus garage. I mean, it's backed into the bus garage, so there's a lot of water that collects through there. That's something that's gonna have to be factored in, because the water that comes up underneath Center Street there, and that minor culvert at the Quonset hut, if it's backed up, it's problematic. It'll flood on the wrong side of the road there. And so your land right now is a collector for all that water coming in. So that's gonna be a big factor that you're gonna have to deal with before we can move forward with any kind of topography changes out there.
Okay.
This is a report from the BFE firms, or FEMA's BFE I pulled back when we first talked about this. This area is actually X, zone X, but you can see here where 1% flood would do that area, right here where his property is at.
Yeah, I think we reviewed this a couple of years ago.
But we can't, I mean, there's really not anything we can do with that.
There's nothing we can do unless we have a
Yeah, drainage study.
drainage study done on this, I don't think.
Can you provide that before, and then we'd be happy to look at it, but we really before, I mean, that land has been sitting fallow for a long time simply because of the amount of water that crosses through there. So
Okay.
if you can come up with a plan that would allow that water to be directed on farther south without creating any kind of backup, that would be very helpful in moving forward with your plans.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for coming.
No problem.
Our next item, Mr. Andy Hall here is here this evening, to talk about a variance. Just before he does, if I may ask, earlier, we passed a motion to continue the same officers for the planning commission. We need to either make that motion or a different one about officers for the Board of Adjustment as well. The Board of Adjustment's the same folks, but we meet in a different capacity, look at things like
I move to
variances. So-
retain the current officers on the 25 Board of Adjustments.
Second. Okay. Proper motion second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, motion carries. So we're good. No, that's fine, no problem. Sorry. Go ahead. Thanks for coming.
Like he said, my name's Andy Hall. Wife and I have a house over on Aaron Road, which is in Fetcher, and we're looking at building a shop, just a 30 by 30 two-car garage. It's going to be fully brick, match the house, and according to city code right now, I can't start it since it's an accessory building until the back of my house. What I'm looking for is just about a 20 to 25-foot variance that allows me to move it forward. If you look in the picture, the first page would be where the city code says to build it. The second page is where we would like to build it, which would move it forward just a little bit, allowing us to have as much backyard for our kids as possible. Again, it's going to match the house. Everything else is going to be to city specs. It's not going to encroach any other property. All it's doing is moving that forward on my property about 20 to 25 foot.
James, what is the interpretation, or where's the interpretation on him not being able to build that behind the back of, or forward of the back of his house?
It's under accessory structures. The
14.
accessory structures are supposed to be located in the rear yard. Rear yard starts at the back building line of the house.
And Mr. Hall, you said you're using it as a garage or a
It's gonna
shop?
be just a 30 by 30 shop, correct? Yeah.
Shop.
It's not gonna be attached to the house. My understanding, if it were physically attached to the house, then I could start it sooner, but we want it to be completely detached from the house.
And you would agree if we gave you a variance to build exactly what you're talking about?
Exactly, yeah.
We're
It's
not
gonna
gonna
be,
come back a year later and you've got a metal building.
it's gonna be fully brick, fully insulated. I just had a new roof put on about 2 months ago. It's gonna match the roof. Any of the siding that's on the house, soffit and fascia, will match the house as well. Fully guttered, I mean, it'll match the house.
I definitely don't see any issue with it.
I don't either. I think that's what a variance is for, in
Yeah.
special cases. You know, if he leaves it, it's gonna eat up a ton of his backyard.
James,
It's not
I-
like it's gonna detract from the value of the property.
Eat up his backyard, he's got one more driveway, I mean.
It's gonna be more expense to me, which, I mean, again, I understand that.
And it would, the drainage.
James, help me out on this one. I'm reading 14.05, section 01, under accessory buildings. Where am I not seeing that? Where it has to be completely in the backyard? Where am I? It says in commercial districts, 30% of the rear yard. In residential districts, 30% of the area, but where am I?
Oh, subordinate and serves principal building, subordinate area, extent, purpose. Maintains, located on the same principal building, covers.
But it is.
What's considered to the house? You can do a breezeway, just a simple breezeway.
Okay. In detached structure such as.
If I did like a brick wall,
And use and accessory use are located
it'd be a fence.
of the required rear yard.
I just don't wanna add extra.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that the proper interpretation of that? That's complete.
In the Hidden Valley.
All right, this is, for the commissioners, this is what he's quoting, in coverage limitation, in industrial districts, if operated partially or entirely in detached structures, such detached structures shall be limited to a gross floor area of not more than 10% of the area of the lot in which the principal permitted use and accessory use are located, or 30% of the required rear yard, whichever results. I don't think industrial.
That's industrial, that's irrelevant. This is residential.
I know, I've seen this in the Goshen structure. Built within a required, okay. Accessory buildings or structures may be built within a required rear yard when located at least 5 foot from the rear or side lot lines. That's where it's at right there.
Okay, it's got, okay, what he's quoting then, accessory buildings or structures may be built, he's using that modal verb may, okay? May be built within a required rear yard.
And then when you use the definition of rear yard, it puts you behind the back building.
But it says may, it doesn't say required, right?
Right.
It should say shall, but
This means that you
just
can.
for.
I think
sake-
what, and if I were to reinterpret this, I would say, you can put it in your backyard, anywhere in your backyard, but you gotta leave 30% of that yard.
Which that's what he's trying to
You
accomplish.
gotta stay 5 foot
Or
off the line, which he
You can't
is.
use more than 30% of the rear yard.
Yeah.
So, I don't know where, in the grand scheme of things, but I don't see it being a problem. So, unless,
Is there even a need for a variance, is my question.
well, he's asking for a variance and to make sure that there's no misinterpretation and to give correct directions, I move to allow the granting of the variance.
Second.
I second that.
Motion, proper motion in multiple seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. And that is approved.
Any other business?
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Can I bring up some new business?
Oh, I'm sorry?
Can I bring up some new business?
I see it's on the agenda.
We got a minute or two.
Is this, so, my name is Kevin Matt. I live at 161 Hayden Drive. And I've had some interactions with Mr. Barton and Mr. Squires as well about a water issue on my property there in that corner that originally Mr. Barton and I had kind of a gentleman's agreement to resolve. And my neighbor directly behind us has been less than obliging. Mr. Barton made an offer to try to purchase a little section of property that I don't think they really knew that they owned because there's a barbed wire fence there. So I think that's where they assumed their property line stopped. However, after Mr. Barton had gotten the area surveyed and set pins, obviously it came to light that the area did belong to them. However, in the process of time, the city of Beebe has put a drainage culvert through my property while it was still under the builder's ownership and dumped it, made a right angle and dumped it into this little spillway, for lack of a better term. It's approximately 12 feet wide between my property line and the barbed wire fence. During the DEQ investigation, Mr. Malcolm Jackson came out and did a very extensive report and gave that report to Mr. Barton. I have since then reached out to Mr. Brent Walker at DEQ, looking for some guidance. And the DEQ obviously does not get involved in residential matters. So that leaves me at, I'm stuck.
What's the problem that's causing you?
Excessive water in my yard. I've got some video of
It's holding or draining across?
draining through and holding it. So the yard is nearly unusable at this point. Obviously, we've had some rain, but during high rain events, my backyard is a river. And it goes underneath the fence at 159 and has wiped out a lot of they had some garden work back there, but there's an excessive amount of water. To exacerbate the issue, my neighbor directly behind us has built an earthen berm. So with the drainage culvert that was placed by Mr. Barton all the way down that, I guess it's the west side of that property, it used to run across this person's property behind us. And now he's placed an earthen berm 3 or 4 feet high, concrete, dirt, debris, trees, and now has completely directed that flow of water onto my property. My ask was originally just to somehow dig a deep enough culvert that would give that water direction. And it dumps into that bowl, which the city has expressed a desire to turn into softball fields, which was another part of that development. But my concern is that the city put that culvert on these people's property without their permission, but it's done and it's there. And so why, at this point, is it not in the neighborhood, specifically in my best interest for the city not to just exercise eminent domain on that 12-foot section of property and fix the water issue there? Because it's really bad. And I think Mr. Barton can vouch for that. I've had Mr. Squires on my property. I've had the mayor out there to look at it, and they agree it's an issue. However, I'm a year into this and with no resolution in sight. So,
Has the street department been out there since the culvert was installed and evaluated it?
I don't think it's a street issue at this point. It's,
Normally culverts and Division of Water would be street department.
I don't know, and obviously, I hate this happening to you, but we volunteer and vote on issues subdivision planning, but I don't think we have any.
We don't have any authority
Yeah, we
to
don't
do
have any
anything.
I mean, we can make some recommendations, but what is your ideal solution? What would fix the problem?
That a drainage, a culvert probably wouldn't handle the amount. An enclosed culvert probably would not handle the amount of water that's coming off there. So it would have to be some sort of ditch, pretty healthy, fairly deep, fairly wide to handle the volume of water, and to put some sort of structure in there to slow the water down.
So the gentleman that built the barn, that's pushing the water on you.
Yes,
Where was it going prior to the barn?
across his property,
He got a larger piece of property?
5 acres.
There's,
That part is illegal. He was not allowed to do that.
Yeah, that gentleman lives at the end of Jamie Lane. He's the gentleman that lives at the end of Jamie Lane.
Well, certainly that sounds suspect. At the end of the day,
You can't divert water on
I
somebody else.
mean, that's not
Right,
not a
that's-
normal practice, I don't think.
That's a
But-
common water, or common enemy water law, right? It's
Do you have
However, it's a residential issue, and the developers obviously sold that property at this point. And so that, I'm kind of stuck.
It might be, I mean, I don't know, it might be theoretically possible you could work something out with the mayor or the council. They're the ones with the power of the purse and decision-making about digging ditches and that sort of thing.
Since we're not elected by voters, we have no power to enforce. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, and we don't have a pocketbook. I mean, we can't tell anybody to get a
I
shovel.
don't know what ward that is, but I had actually sent it.
Jacob.
That would be where I would start.
So I have sent emails to each of those folks and got zero response except from the mayor.
Well, come to a council meeting and ask to be heard at a city council meeting, just like you have here.
And we will
So
be.
this
Now, I'm not telling you what they'll do, I don't know.
It's fine. I just need to know where to start, right? Because,
asked to be put on the agenda at council meeting.
so when is the next council meeting?
James, you think
It's
I'll
gonna
be.
be,
The 24th.
24th of this month,
so, right across the hall is the clerk's office.
6:30.
Just come in and ask to be put on the agenda with your, whatever it is you want to bring to them.
Now, they can determine whether they want to act on it one way or another, but just to be candid, they have a lot more authority than we do, at least, to do something if
Because
they
that
choose to.
checkbook.
Exactly.
Well, it's fair enough. I just need to know where to start because this
And my
obviously
instincts
impacts
are,
my-
if this is a huge problem and not very expensive to fix, they might listen to you. I mean, that's
Did you
my
say
thought.
there's a 12-foot section there that nobody owns, or?
Well, the folks that own the 5 acres behind me own it, but I don't think they knew they owned it until this subdivision was put in because then it was properly flagged and marked. But to this point, there's a barbed wire fence, and I believe they assumed that was their property line.
And we did a drainage study on whatever phase that was, and he's diverting the water.
That was phase 2.
This is phase 5. Phase 5, and the drainage issues that we had on that deal. AEQ got involved, everybody got involved. And we met all the agreements and all the compliance and everything was good. And he had a little issue that didn't have anything to do with phase 5 at the time. Phase 5 followed its natural waterway. Well, those people since then, not him, the other neighbors on Jamie Lane, have built a dirt berm, a dam. So now that water can't go out like it's supposed to.
Like it always
Across the
has.
city property. Now it has to turn and go about 100 feet right into his backyard and flood his backyard before it goes down.
And there's no government regulatory agency that monitors that type of,
There should be, because that is I mean, and this would be a Kyle question. Kyle's a lot smarter at this than I am, but there's something that can be done there, because if I did that, I would be in court for days.
But,
Kyle, you got anything to add?
Mr.
Before we get on to something else.
It'd have to be a civil matter based on what I got from DEQ.
The only
Yep, and unfortunately, that area is not listed in the floodplain nor in the, waterway.
But if the but I'm hearing 100-foot ditch.
For that, there's not. I will say, he had something that the city, I feel like, could do to help, and it would cost the city about $10, is when they ran a pipe across there, they put a 90 on the end of their culvert in the ditch that was draining across his property, so they kind of dammed it up.
Yeah, they got 50% over code.
I guarantee you go right now. They just need to take that 90 off. I mean, shovel in 5 seconds, I would have already done it, you know. Want to get in trouble.
Will you run the, taking the 90 off the culvert up the flagpole?
Yeah.
James, okay, fair enough.
That would help him, but it's not solving the problem with,
Heavy rain.
he's got a bigger problem.
But if that's 90% resolution, at least you accomplished something tonight.
Well, it may be a 9% resolution, but it's a start.
Well, we're sorry. I wish we had the power to do so.
Well, it's fine. Like I said, I'm here just to find out where to go, right? Because,
City council meeting, that'd be where I would go. I would come up here the first chance to get here and work and have it on the agenda or make a phone call.
They'll listen to you. They'll listen to you, and they'll do, I don't want to speak for others, but I think they'll do the right thing.
well, it's, yeah, my hands are tied except for to get an attorney. And I'd rather not do that. I'd like to keep this as simple as possible. But,
Well, maybe trying the simple things and see how much difference they make is a good start, anyway.
Kyle, is there a rule or a law with ADQ about diverting the water out of its natural waterway onto somebody else's property?
No, I mean, if you cause the turbidity issues, so I guess you can make that argument in the stream. But as long as you're not actually installing fill in a stream, you know, without, you have to get DEQ approval for that, it's on state, short-term activity authorization, even the working stream, not even fill, just to dig across it. But that's for the turbidity issue. So, you know, if you could raise a case that he was causing pollution in the stream downstream from there because of upstream work he did, that could become a DEQ issue, but more than likely, they're not gonna see it as one. Usually it's gotta be a bigger construction site or turbidity.
Hopefully, they can provide you some remedy and relief here.
anything would help. Yeah. 'Cause my next recourse is to build some sort of retaining wall, you know, dig a deep enough concrete footer with steel and then come up with some block and just to keep the water somewhat off of my property.
Well, if you get on the agenda, they'll hear you
All right.
and hopefully get some
Appreciate
closure.
it. Thank you for your
Thank you,
time.
sir.
Most welcome, sir.
Motion to adjourn?
Proper motion, is there a second? All in favor, say aye. We are adjourned. Thank you for coming. Have a great evening.